unfolding in Islamabad that has the whole region on edge. And this isn't just another headline. The suicide bombing that ripped through a mosque in Pakistan's capital this past Friday.
Yeah.
It just feels different. It feels like a turning point.
It absolutely does. And looking at the reports we have stacked up here from Al Jazeera, from local security data, and, the diplomatic cables flying back and forth, this wasn't just an attack on a building.
No.
It was an attack that cracked open 3 specific, very dangerous fault lines that have been building up pressure for a while.
And that's really the mission for this deep dive. We need to look past the smoke and the debris of the Khadijatul Kubra Mosque and understand those fault lines. We're seeing the rise of this specific terror faction ISPP that is changing the game. We're seeing the terrifying risk of a sectarian war that could spread like wildfire. And maybe most confusingly for anyone watching from the outside, we are seeing a geopolitical blame game where 3 neighboring countries are pointing fingers at each other while the fires are still burning.
And I think the context here is just vital before we even get to the explosion itself. This is not happening in a vacuum.
Right.
If you look at the security data from the last year, specifically from the PAC Institute of Peace Studies, 2025 was a brutal year. We saw a 34% rise in attacks nationwide.
34%. That's a massive jump. I mean, that's not a statistical anomaly. That's a trend.
It is. But the location matters even more than the number here. For a long time, the violence was concentrated in the border regions, what we call the periphery.
Sure.
But Friday showed us that the periphery has arrived in the center. The violence has moved from the borderlands right into the capital city, and it has shifted from targeting police or soldiers to targeting a specific religious community.
So let's walk through what actually happened on Friday, February 6th, because the details of the attack itself, they tell us a lot about the perpetrator's intent.
It was Friday prayers. I mean, in any Muslim country, that is the moment of maximum density for a mosque.
Right.
The target was the Khadijatul Kubra Mosque in Tarlai Kalan, which is southeastern Islamabad. And it's a Shia mosque.
And we have to talk about the security setup because this wasn't really a soft target in the traditional sense.
No, not at all.
Right. I was reading the statement from the defense minister, Khawaja Asif. He mentioned that there were guards. This wasn't a case of someone just wandering in unnoticed.
No, and that's the terrifying part. The bomber was intercepted. The guards did their job. They spotted him. But the attacker was prepared for that.
Okay.
He wasn't just carrying explosives. He was armed with a gun. He opened fire to force his way through the checkpoint and then detonated the vest right in the middle of the worshipers.
Wow. That shows a level of tactical training and determination that just, it goes beyond lone wolf scenario.
It does.
And the devastation. The numbers are hard to even process. At least 31 people killed. But the number that really stopped me was the injured count. The Islamabad administration reported 169 people transferred to hospitals.
That number, 169, tells you everything about the crowd density and the power of that explosive. When you have nearly 200 casualties from a single device, you are talking about a catastrophic event.
And naturally, the immediate aftermath has just been gut-wrenching. There were mass funerals on Saturday. But listening to the voices from the ground, the locals, the analysts, there's this palpable fear that this isn't over. They keep using this phrase, inflaming sectarian fault lines.
That is the fear. But before we unpack the sectarian angle, we have to look at who claimed this. Because usually when we talk about bombs in Pakistan, we immediately think of the PPP, the Pakistani Taliban,
Right.
or maybe the separatist groups in Balochistan. But Friday night, a different notification popped up on Telegram.
ISPP, the Islamic State Pakistan Province.
That's them. They released a photo of the attacker face covered, eyes blurred, holding a gun. Very standard ISIS propaganda style.
Now, for someone who might not follow the alphabet soup of terror groups, ISPP might sound new, but they've been around for a few years, haven't they?
They have. They formed around May 2019. Since then, they've carried out roughly 100 attacks. But here's the key pattern that analysts have pointed out.
Okay.
Until now, more than 2/3 of their operations were in Balochistan.
Which is the southwestern province, huge, rugged, and frankly, far away from the eyes of the international media in Islamabad.
Precisely. In Balochistan, they were hitting Afghan Taliban members, police security forces, but striking Islamabad.
Yeah.
And causing mass civilian casualties in a mosque.
Yeah.
This is their deadliest operation since they formed. It's a massive statement of intent. They are telling the world, we can hit the heart of the state.
And Islamabad was supposed to be the safe zone. I remember reading about a relative lull in violence in the capital for years, but that bubble seems to have burst completely.
It has. This is actually the second major attack in Islamabad in just a few months. Remember, November 2025, there was that suicide blast at the district court.
Oh, right.
So we've gone from safe zone to two major mass casualty events in a single winter.
You mentioned the data earlier about the 34% rise in attacks. There's another term popping up in UN reports and security briefings that I want to drill down on. Convergence. It sounds like corporate jargon, but in this context, it sounds terrifying. What does it actually mean?
It is terrifying. Convergence is the term security experts are using to describe a very strange phenomenon. You have these different militant groups, specifically the Balochistan Liberation Army, the BLA, the Pakistan Taliban, the TTP, and now ISIL affiliates like ISPP, and they're starting to work together.
But wait, hang on. Politically, that makes no sense. The BLA are ethnic separatists. They want independence. The TTP and ISIL are religious zealots. They want a Sharia state. Theoretically, shouldn't they hate each other?
On paper, yes, they have completely different end goals, but on the ground, they share a common enemy, the Pakistani state.
So it's a marriage of convenience.
It is. They've realized that by pooling resources, sharing bomb makers, sharing safe houses, using the same smuggling routes, they can overwhelm the security forces.
So the bomb maker doesn't care if his device is used for a separatist cause or a religious one, as long as it blows up a target.
Exactly. It's logistics over ideology. And that makes the security landscape twice as hard to read because you can't just track one group's motivations anymore. They are amplifying each other's chaos.
That is a nightmare for intelligence agencies. But I want to pivot back to the specific target on Friday. You said it was a Shia mosque. Why does that specific choice of target ring alarm bells for a sectarian war? I mean, any loss of life is tragic, but why does this threaten national stability in a different way?
This is where the distinction is critical. An analyst, Mansar Zaidi, he frames it this way. The attack on the district court back in November was an attack on a state institution. It's anti-government.
Right.
But attacking a Shia mosque is plainly sectarian. You aren't fighting the police, you are declaring war on a community.
And we're talking about a significant portion of the population here.
We are. Shia Muslims make up over 20% of Pakistan's 250 million people. That's 50 million people. When you target them, you aren't just trying to make a political point. You are trying to incite a riot.
It's bait.
It's absolutely bait. And another analyst, Abdul Sayed, points out a really dark mechanic behind this. He calls it a recruitment tool.
A recruitment tool.
Yeah. Attacks like this signal to the most extreme anti-Shia elements in the Sunni population that ISPP is the active force. If you're a radical who hates Shias and you see ISPP effectively striking them in the capital, you're going to want to join that team.
So it's marketing through atrocity. Look what we can do. Come join us.
Yes. And the real danger is where this anger flows. You might have a bomb in Islamabad, but the explosion could trigger a war hundreds of miles away. The analysts are specifically watching a region called Kuram.
Right. Kuram came up in almost every report I read. Why there? What is the connection between Islamabad and Kuram?
Geography is destiny here. Kuram is a district in the northwest that looks like a parrot's beak, jutting right into Afghanistan. It's surrounded on three sides by Afghan territory.
Okay.
But the crucial demographic detail is that it has a roughly 50-50 split of Sunni and Shia populations.
So it's tinderbox.
It's a pressure cooker with no safety valve. Because it's so isolated, the state has less control there. When a bomb goes off in a Shia mosque in Islamabad, the photos and rumors hit WhatsApp groups in Kuram instantly.
And the fear is that one community will feel under attack nationally and strike out preemptively.
Or vice versa. They have a history of conflict. The fear is that the uneasy peace just shatters.
So the blast happens in the capital, but the civil war kicks off in the mountains.
That is the fault line we talked about at the start. It's not just about one mosque. It's about that vibration shattering the peace in volatile regions like Kuram.
Okay, so we have the internal tragedy and the sectarian trap. Now we have to talk about the external mess. Because immediately after this happened, the finger-pointing started. It was an immediate diplomatic standoff. Who is blaming whom?
Well, it starts with the Pakistani government. Defense Minister Khawaja Asif came out swinging. He claimed the attacker traveled to and from Afghanistan.
So straight up, this came from Kabul.
Yes. And we should clarify something for the listeners because this gets confusing. We talk about the TTP and the Afghan Taliban. They sound like the same thing.
But they're not.
They're distinct. The Afghan Taliban are the government in Kabul. The TTP is the Pakistani Taliban, and they're fighting to overthrow the Pakistani state.
They are cousins, not the same person.
Right. Cousins with a lot of shared history. Pakistan's accusation is that the Afghan Taliban government is letting the TTP and groups like ISPP live comfortably in Afghanistan, cross the border, and then run back to safety.
But Pakistan didn't just stop at blaming Afghanistan this time. They threw another name into the ring: India.
They did, and this is where the geopolitics gets really thick. Pakistan alleged links between India and the Taliban regarding this instability.
Now, to an outsider, that sounds wild.
Right.
Why would Pakistan blame India for an attack claimed by ISIS? What is the logic there?
It's the proxy war theory. The narrative in Islamabad, and it has been for decades, is that India wants to destabilize Pakistan by any means necessary.
Okay.
So the Pakistani security establishment believes that Indian intelligence will fund any group that causes chaos in Pakistan, whether it's separatists or jihadists.
So they view it as the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And they think India is funding these groups just to keep Pakistan bleeding.
Exactly. Whether there is hard evidence for that in this specific case or not, that is the lens through which Pakistan views every explosion.
And how do the neighbors take these accusations? I can't imagine they were thrilled.
Not at all. The Afghan Taliban condemned the attack itself, but they called Pakistan's accusations irresponsible. Their stance is basically, look, you have a security failure in your own capital, don't blame us for your internal mess.
And India.
India's foreign ministry was even sharper, rejected the claims as baseless. They basically said Pakistan is misleading itself to conceal its own internal failures.
So let's